Rich Vernadeau here. As long as you buy into a system, you support it, you empower it, you perpetuate it. If you really believe that you have to have these new threads, these new clothes that are being pushed, that are popular, that are, currently what everybody wants, then you're buying into that. If you're going to spend your money on that, then you're supporting it, you're perpetuating it. The same way with the bling bling, whether it's jewelry, whether it's cosmetics, whether it's cologne, whether it's fashion, whatever it is. If you're buying into the idea that it makes you more valid or more worthy or more important, or more socially acceptable to wear these new clothes or wear this new jewelry or wear this expensive cologne, you're buying into the system and you're perpetuating that system. And that system is based on the idea of impressing somebody else. I want to impress these people. I want to show off. In other words, it's an ego driven. In other words, you're feeding an ego driven system. And of course, Madison Avenue loves this. The advertisers love this. The manufacturers love this. The people raking in the money love this. When you go and shell out $100 for a bottle of cologne, so you can show off to everybody and smell good. They love this. When you go and spend a fortune on the new tennis shoes, the new pair of shoes, they love this. When you go spend a fortune on the clothing, that makes you socially acceptable. Now you're doing what we're pushing. And it's being pushed by the fashion industry. It's being pushed by the manufacturers, and who ends up with all the money? Well, whoever owns these companies, which once again is the billionaire class. You're being played. You're being played. You're being played. You've been played for decades now. When you were out buying the Spreewells, when you're out buying the Jordans, when you're out buying the Nikes, whatever it is that you're buying and paying a fortune for, that takes them a fraction to manufacture. You pay $300 for a pair of shoes, and maybe it costs them $20 to produce it. Maybe, probably less than that. You're being played. You're being used. You're being manipulated. You don't understand this because you've bought into the system. And as long as you're buying into that system, you're supporting it. You will continue to participate in it. It's insanity to go pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a car. That kind of money should be buying you a house. But with the inflation that we now currently exist in, you don't understand that because you didn't grow up. A lot of you, a lot of people, the population right now that exists doesn't remember when money actually had value. When you could work a normal job and afford a normal car and afford a normal house and make your car payment and your insurance and your house. Now you have to have two or three people living in the same house or the same apartment. An apartment that should be $250 back when money had value is now $1,000 or whatever. So you're playing with devalued money. You're playing with money that no longer has any buying power. But unless you understand what is happening and what is going on, you're just going to continue to be played. And there you're going to be broke all the time. With your credit cards and trying to keep up with the Joneses, as I say, trying to keep up with the neighbors. They got a new flat screen, so I have to go get a new flat screen, et cetera, et cetera. And the manufacturers are in business to manipulate things. At one time, you could buy an appliance, whatever it was, a toaster oven, a microwave, a television, whatever, and these were built to last for years. It's not that way now. Everything is planned obsolescence. The idea is if it breaks down, if there's nobody around now that's going to repair it, you're just going to go buy a new one. It's cheaper and easier to just go buy a new one. And so the manufacturers have put in place a system where everybody simply goes and replaces. They simply go and buy a new thing. Another thing that they've done to you is to switch you over to new technology that they create. In other words, there was nothing wrong with the VCR and the VHS tapes. And you did that for years. You did that for a couple of decades. But then they introduced DVD. So most people, instead of keeping both, because there's nothing wrong with the old VCR, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But people threw away their VCR, threw away their VHS tapes. What they do? They go out and buy DVDs. Then when Blu-ray comes out, what do? They get rid of the DVDs, they get the Blu-rays. Then when streaming comes out, what do? They get rid of the hard tech, which you actually have in your hand and can keep. And now you're manipulated by Netflix or all these other pay-per-view type programs, or pay-per-month, or whatever you want to call it, where, it can change. Suddenly that movie's not available anymore. Maybe you can watch it this month, but then it just disappears. Well, guess what? If you have it on VHS or DVD, the movie never disappears. You can watch it anytime you want to. But see, that's the point. The system, the powers that be, that they want you paying for everything forever. Back to the old concept that I've talked about before, you will own nothing and be happy. They really just want you paying rent forever and ever every month, and you're going to be paying. You may not even necessarily own your house. You'll just be paying for it. And the idea is to for the super rich, of course, to own everything: the land, the housing. BlackRock's doing a good job going around scooping up housing nationwide. And they just want you working for the big corporation, company store, and whatever you're getting paid per month, you're just going to turn around. They're going to get it back, through the exorbitant rent they're going to charge, et cetera, et cetera. It's obscene capitalism on steroids that we're living in now. Insane inflationary rate. So anyway, think about all this stuff. And then decide how you want to respond to it. Now, the people who are off-gridders, who are dropping out of society, are smart. Go get you something that's paid for, whether it's a trailer, whether it's a log cabin, whatever. Figure out a way of creating your own energy where you don't have to pay a utility company every month. Forget about going and buying $100 bottles of cologne. Forget about going and buying $100 shirts and $100 pants. Forget about all that. That's buying into a system that's been artificially created by manufacturers who are owned by the billionaire class, who is profiting off of you. You're being exploited because they've got you conned into thinking that you have to have this stuff. You think you need this stuff. You think you want it. Learn how to be thrifty. Learn how to not do that. Learn how to go buy your clothes at Goodwill or Salvation Army. Go learn how to buy your clothes from yard sales. Go learn how to not, go flash the current fashion just because that's what they're pushing on TV and in the magazines and everywhere else. Come on, wake up, people. Quit being played by the billionaire elite class. This has been Rich Vernadeau. Thank you.